Okay, I hope everybody's doing well today. Signing day is always a great day and fun day for a lot of reasons. I believe this is my 15th signing day as a college coach, and definitely just as memorable as all the other ones before it. Before I make any comments on our new players that we added today, I'd really like to start off just giving an update on our current team. Our players just finished their exams this past week. They've all gone home. They're going to get a couple weeks at home with their families, which is much needed after a difficult year here. And, I met with all 103 players over the last 2 weeks before they left to go home, and had about a 15-minute meeting with each one of the guys, and really just to review this past season and talk about things that were going on with them, and really what we as coaches need from them whenever they get back in January. And overall, I really feel that our team is hungry, and the guys are ready to get back here in January and go to work. I'm looking forward to getting our first true off season with our players. Obviously, last year we missed a good portion of that. I believe that most of your development and improvements as a team and as an individual players is kind of from that January through July window. And so really looking forward to getting those guys back. We had 13 scholarship seniors this past year on our team. And, many of them started the season thinking this was going to be their last year here at USF. And then in September, I believe the end of August, September, the NCAA changed the rule and allowed all the players to have an extra year of eligibility, which I thought was a great rule change. And, I met with our players, our 13 seniors, maybe about 2 weeks before our last game to see if any of them would like to come back. I invited all of them to come back. And obviously a couple of them already had plans to declare for the NFL and kind of look for that next chapter. But I was really pleased that nine of the 13 scholarship seniors all chose to come back for an extra year. And to me, that was just really a great sign of the belief and the optimism that our players have for next year, and really buying into what we're doing here with our new program under the new leadership. So, I just wanted to start off. I know it's easy on signing day. We get carried away talking about all these new guys that we're excited about, but I just wanted to let everyone know I'm so excited about getting our current team back here in January. And I just know that, even though we didn't have the success that we wanted on the field this year from a record standpoint, we made a lot of progress, and our guys, we're going to be much further ahead when we get started in January than we were a year ago. I think signing day is special for a lot of reasons. To me, probably my favorite part of signing day is just seeing these young men and their families be able to, reach one of their dreams and goals of going to college and having a chance to earn a college degree and also play in big-time college football. And that never gets old. As a coach, you do this every single year. And for the recruits, it's their one time that they go through this process. And just the excitement that I saw on the face and some tears from some of the parents as their sons were signing these scholarships today is definitely one of the highlights of the day. And obviously, signing day is also special for, our university, our coaches, our current team. Just adding new young men to our USF football family. Obviously, the talent, but more important than that, the type of young men that we're adding to our team is going to have a tremendous impact for us. I think in my mind, we obviously have a lot of work to do to get to where we want to be. And I knew that whenever I came down here a year ago. And, to me, there's really three phases when you're taking over a program that maybe it struggled recently and really trying to get that turned around like we're trying to do. I think the three phases that are really important. The first phase is really to change the culture and really set the standard for your program. And I think that's really what, looking back on the year 2020, I'm not really going to, be looking at our record. I'm really going to be thinking about the change that I saw take place in our locker room. And, it's one thing to get in front of the team at the beginning of the year, or when you get the job in your first team meeting, and talk about the culture and the standard. But you have to live it. It's through shared experiences. It's through adversity. It's through all those things. And I think anybody that saw the way that our guys played and competed for 4 quarters in our last game can really see the progress that this team made in the locker room. And definitely we're going to be able to build off of that. The second phase that's important anytime you're trying to, change the success is obviously talent acquisition. Right, as coaches, we're only as good as our players. Sometimes the coaches get too much credit for success because really it's the players that are out there making the plays. And you can't add talent and depth to your roster in the middle of the season, right? And obviously we saw that this year with our depth chart and losing so many guys and really finishing the end of the year with maybe 16 or 17 guys on defense. But you get a chance to add talent and add depth to your roster really once a year. And that's in the recruiting process on signing day. And today was a big part of that. And to be able to add these 22 young men to the current team that I'm really excited about, I really think is going to pay dividends for us next year and for the years to come. And then the third phase is developing the talent that you have on your team, right? And again, we talked about that, the development process. A lot of that comes from that January through July. And so that's one thing that I'm really looking forward to is being able to develop these guys in the weight room and continued meetings that we're able to have. And then obviously spring practice will be very valuable. I think this year's class, obviously every head coach is going to tell you right now that they're super fired up and excited about their class. I haven't met a coach that said they weren't. But, whenever I say that, I'm thrilled by this class, it really is an understatement. I mean, obviously, with the, coming in with a lot of excitement, new coaching staff and all that stuff, and then the adversity that we had with our season, I'm just so proud of the young men that were committed, that really stayed committed all the way through. I mean, I can't tell you how many after games, these guys that were committed to me and to our staff, they're sending me text messages, encouraging me Saturday night and Sunday morning. And it was just fun to watch that group stay committed. It's one thing to commit and be excited when there's a lot of good prospects for your season. But when you're going through that adversity, you really find out who wants to be here and who truly believes in your vision. And, I think, this class is a very talented class. Many of these young men had legitimate opportunities to play in the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, different places, and they chose South Florida. And there was a lot of different reasons for that. I think the biggest thing is a lot of these young men want to be a part of something special. They can feel the energy, and they can see what's coming here these next couple of years at South Florida. But even more than just the talent, I'm just so excited about the character, the integrity, the work ethic of the guys that we're adding to our locker room. I think when we talk about changing the culture, a big way that you're able to change the culture is you recruit the culture. You recruit the type of young men and the type of families that you want to ultimately, be in your locker room and be your future leaders. And, being a great player with talent, to be honest, that's just one of about 6 boxes that have to be checked for us to offer and accept a commitment and accept a signee. We're looking at academic success. Do they have a desire to have success in the classroom? Is it truly important to them to earn their degree? And obviously we talked about they've got to have character. They've got to have integrity. Another thing that I think is underrated is, do they love football? I mean, there's so many things going on this day and age. there's a lot of guys that I'm finding out that just truly don't love ball, and maybe they just were good in high school and got a scholarship, but it's hard to coach people and push them to be their best if they don't love it. So that's something that we're talking to with these guys. Hey, do you love it? Is this what you want to do? And then ultimately, we're looking for guys that are winners, that have that positive mindset, that are able to push through no matter what. And I believe that every one of these 22 young men that came in this class exhibit those. And then, finally, just a couple comments. 22 signees in this class, 17 high school prospects, 5 transfers, and 15 of the 22 were from the state of Florida, which is very important. That's really where we start, trying to have a big focus right here in the state with all the talent that's in this area. So 15 from Florida, 3 from the state of Georgia, 1 from Alabama, 1 from Texas, 1 from Canada that also spent 2 years down here at Florida, and then 1 from Australia. So we're from near and far, and so that's it's a lot of fun to see guys from all over the world come together and share this experience that they're going to have these next 4 years together. And then, as far as the 22 signees, really good balance. We have 11 defensive players, 10 offensive players, and 1 specialist. On the defensive side of the ball, we signed 2 defensive ends, 2 linebackers, 4 corners, and 3 safeties. Really felt like we needed to add some depth and talent and length and everything to our secondary, and feel like we've addressed that very well in this class. Offensively, we signed 2 quarterbacks, 3 wide receivers, 3 offensive linemen, 1 running back, 1 tight end, and then we signed 1 punter as a specialist. So just really excited about that. And before I take questions, I'd finally just like to thank, there's a lot of people that make today happen. There's over 100 people that have spent hours and hours and hours, for the last year to make today happen. The success that we had in our signing day today does not just happen by accident. It really is everybody doing their role. So just a couple people that I want to point out, and then I'll take any questions you have. But we've got great leadership here. That's another thing that gives me great belief and great optimism in where we're headed as a program. But Dr. Steve Corral, our president, has been incredible. Mr. Jordan Zimmerman, our chairman of the board of trustees, Michael Kelly, vice president for athletics. They've done an excellent job of having an alignment in their leadership and their vision, and really supporting myself and our coaches, through a difficult year. And I'm just very excited about the commitment that I believe that our leadership has made in our athletics program, in particular in football, with the things that we're going to have coming here very, very soon from a facility standpoint. I couldn't be more appreciative to them and the push that they've been giving us. And then also our athletic administration, Marquita Armstead does an excellent job with us being our liaison with the academics and admissions office. Our compliance office does an excellent job communicating with us on a daily basis. Brendan Armitage and his staff. And then, our academics, I think play a big role in this with our academic resources. A lot of these prospects and the families want to know that the resources that they're going to have whenever they get here, and really appreciate Stephen Darville and his staff. And then really just our support staff with football, with equipment, video, our media, I think everybody plays a part in that. Our recruiting department, this is their day. Mike Giglio, who's our director of recruiting, I want to congratulate he and his wife, Caitlin, on the new addition to their family. They just welcomed their first daughter, Christine Palmer Giglio, on Monday. And so he was able to be with his family and be able to keep up with us today. And so just really want to congratulate them. And then Justin Spiros is our director of scouting. I mean, every single night I get an updated email, our coaching staff, of every single player that got in the portal and all their stats and all the different recruits. And our recruiting department has done an excellent job of us having an opportunity to evaluate the best players. Charles Lovett is our director of on-campus recruiting. He's been doing that virtually. And obviously Brian Segrist does an excellent job with us. Brandon Whitley, our director of creative services, has done thousands of graphics and different videos for our guys. Cody Hilburn also. Many of y'all been able to see the vlog, the behind the scenes video content. Albert Boone's our director of football ops. Lacey King, Sierra White are a big part of our team. And then really just our GAs, our analysts, and our coaching staff. I mean, it's hundreds and probably thousands of hours on the phone, in front of the computer, talking with these high school coaches, prospects, parents, and really selling the University of South Florida, selling our vision and what we're going to do here. And so you have all of those people doing an excellent job in their role. That's how we're able to celebrate a special signing class like today. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions you may have.
All right, we'll start with Chris Torello.
Hey, Coach, hope you're well. Just with you mentioned the transfer portal, you guys were active in it, getting some pretty big names, including someone like Jaren Williams. And then you also get a kid like Timmy McLean. So you talk about the two quarterbacks you signed. Just wondering about, someone like Jaren coming in and also someone like Timmy, who you even tweeted out you believe is the best quarterback in the state.
Yeah, I'm really excited about both of those young men. I mean, I think for us, we want to bring in the very best talent that we can. And, I've told our team right before we left, said, hey, we've got 0 returning starters coming back next year. Everybody's got to start over. We got 9 months to go earn. So we're going to bring as many talented young men as possible to help. I mean, I can't tell you how many of our current players I've received positive text messages from today, excited about some of these signees and transfers that are coming in to be a part of the team. But, Timmy McLean's a guy that we identified very early on, and I really liked his skill set as really a dual threat quarterback. And I mean, he's just a winner. Bottom line, he's playing in the state championship this Saturday in Doak Campbell Stadium. He's had an outstanding season, and he might not have been quite as known at the beginning of the year, but I really believe he's developed into being the best quarterback in our state in this class. And then Jaren Williams is a young man I've been very familiar with for a long time. He came out of high school the same time that Trevor Lawrence did, and from the same area. They both were in Elite 11, both Elite 11 finalists. They both played in the Army All-Star game together. Joey King, our tight ends coach, is on our staff, actually coached Jaren and Trevor at that Army All-Star game a few years back. And, to see what he was able to do at Miami just in, 1 year, I think his experience and his arm talent is something that we felt like would be a great addition. And, Noah Johnson is graduating and moving on. And we wanted to, rather than just bring in 2 freshman quarterbacks, to go with the 2 freshman quarterbacks we had last year, who, by the way, all get an extra year. So we didn't want to have 4 freshman quarterbacks on one team. So that's why it was important for us to bring in one older, experienced quarterback with one of our freshmen. And that's a position that we need to find some consistency. And I believe with the 2 young men we brought in and the young men that we currently have on our team, the 9 months that we're going to get to train and really watch those guys develop, it's going to be awesome. And I feel like we're going to be able to have a great answer for our quarterback situation going into the 2021 football season.
Andrew Kesey.
Hey, Coach. Hope you're doing well. First off, how much recruiting have you actually been able to do, with this being your first year and having to deal with all the challenges that this year's brought? And what kind of challenges did you deal with in recruiting, maybe not being able to meet with the recruit face-to-face or something like that?
Okay, so to the first answer, I was very involved. Again, I'm not one of these coaches that think that we as coaches have these magic plays and you just can put anybody in there and run the play and you're going to win games. I mean, at Clemson, we had a great culture, right? Coach Sweeney did a great job with that staff developing a great culture, brought in talented players that were made of the right things, had the right attitudes, work ethic, all that. And then those guys got developed, and that's how you have the success. And so, again, my first 7 years at Clemson, I was the recruiting coordinator. That was the first 7 years that Coach Sweeney was the head coach. And so I was able to see our team at Clemson go from, an underachiever to really becoming a championship program through multiple successful recruiting classes. So again, I know that recruiting is the lifeblood of any successful football program. So I've been very involved really weekly, but the challenges, I think the biggest challenge was the fact that we were not able to have the players come and visit in the spring. We're not able to have players come to camp in the summer. And you say, well, everybody had the same thing. Well, that is true, but only the first year staffs, didn't have any of these guys come through, where all the other staffs that were there for 2 or 3 years, they would have had these guys come through for the last couple of years. So just the fact they couldn't come through the spring, they already had them on campus. They met them, they saw them, so it's the first time in my career that I'm having to ask for commitments from young men and their families who have never been able to shake my hand and be able to see and meet the coaches in person, and never been able to see the campus or visit and walk through your facilities in person. So that was a challenge. But at the end of the day, recruiting is all about relationships. And at the end of the day, the young men and their families want to know, can we trust the person that we're going to play for and we're sending our son to play for? And, I think a good coach is very genuine and about the right things. Families can see that even if it's through FaceTime or Zoom or anything. So, we were able to work around some of those issues that we had.
And just to follow up to that, how do you you mentioned, the first time you've ever had to ask somebody to trust you based on, not having a previous year to point to, do you tweak your pitch from what you did at Clemson to, some of these kids that you're trying to bring at USF?
Well, I think you do talk about your track record. That is something that I do talk to the players about. And, this reminds me a lot of the early years at Clemson, where we had to sell. I mean, I can remember being involved recruiting Sammy Watkins. Okay. And Clemson we were 6-7 the year before. So I believe it was right after the 2010 season. I believe that South Florida beat Clemson right there in the bowl game. And so we're recruiting Sammy Watkins. He's the #1 player in the state of Florida, #3 wide receiver in the country. His brother, Jalen, was playing at the University of Florida. Everybody in the country wanted him. And we were able to sell him on a 6-7 team of what we were going to do in the future. And it became a lot easier 2 years ago when I'm recruiting Justin Ross. I don't have to say much. I just, show him, here you go. This is what we've done. And you want to come? Good. Come on. And so this reminds me when we are, that's why I'm so proud of this class right here, is that, they haven't been able to see our success that we're going to have here yet. So they truly are stepping out in faith. They truly do have to believe. But that's the type of young men that we're looking for, the ones that do believe in what we're doing, where we're going, and they're willing to come be a big part of that. So I definitely appreciate this class for believing in myself, our staff, and where we're headed as a football program.
Thanks, Coach.
Leo Haggerty.
Coach, some of these states didn't even allow high school football to happen. How lucky do you think you are that Florida at least had high school football so you could evaluate some of these guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. We could talk about all the difficulties and the challenges that we had, and everybody did. But at the end of the day, these high schools and even us got to play football this year. And back in March and April, there was no guarantees of that. So I am very pleased. And I can remember right there in August, there was a lot. I was keeping up with it on Twitter and social media when the Florida board was trying to make a decision on high school football this year. And I really was sitting there praying that they were going to let these young men play. And I'm so happy that they were able to. And there's no question that the evaluation that we got from some of the video from this year, and then also for this, we've already got a big head start on the 2022 class. So the guys that are juniors, that's really important video for us to watch. We've spent the last 3 weeks really digging into that. So I'm very pleased and happy that our guys got to play football here in the state of Florida.
Coach, a quick follow-up to that. When you're looking at a recruit, what's the most important thing other than, okay, the guy can play? What's the next thing you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm looking at who is he as a person. Like, that's really, really big. So, I mean, that's why I love to see him in person and have a conversation. But if we can, I can get on FaceTime. Within 3 minutes on FaceTime, I can usually tell in a conversation, is this guy going to be a great fit in our program? Does he have great energy? Does he love ball? I mean, you can just tell very quickly. And so kind of that list that I went through a little earlier, the separation is not with talent. There's a lot of talented players. There's a lot of talented players that we bypassed that maybe didn't sign today. But the differentiator is that character, the integrity, the academics. Like when I look at someone's transcript and their test scores, but really their transcript, I don't look at it and think that it really reflects their intelligence. To me, it's a reflection of their work ethic, their discipline, their commitment to put their best in whatever they're doing. Like that's really what when I look at a transcript and I see, over a 3.0. I mean, you take a guy like Gunnar Greenwald, I think he has over a 4.0. I mean, this guy is going to put in his absolute best in whatever he does. So I already know when he gets in the weight room, when he goes on the practice field, I know that's who he is. And so we want to add as many players like that. And we have many in this class to our team. And all of a sudden you do that for a couple of years, then you really get that differentiator in your locker room that really helps you have the on-field success that we ultimately are going to have.
Will Turner.
Coach, first of all, congratulations on your first full class. Jimmy Horn Jr. became kind of America's fastest rising star in the last couple of weeks, picking up Georgia and Jackson State and Oklahoma and Tennessee. First of all, can you take me through the recruiting process of him specifically? And second of all, just how instrumental was having, Timmy McClain as his quarterback through the whole thing?
Yeah.
Congratulations on recruiting here.
Yeah. Thank you. If we had a hour and a half, I could give you all the whole story. So I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. First of all, I'll say this. One other thing that I love about recruiting is there's a lot of different ways that things happen, different timing. Sometimes you may know some about somebody, 2 years in advance, and sometimes it can be really late. So Jimmy Horn, he broke his wrist his junior year, only played in one game. Okay. And so really nobody knew a whole lot about him. And then he transferred to Seminole this year. And, again, it was an advantage. We were able to find out about him pretty early from Timmy McClain and from Timmy's dad, Tim Sr. They were keeping us up to date. Hey, we got a guy, and showing us some video. At the time, we technically were full with our wide receiver positions. And then later in the year, when we saw our scholarship numbers and we're able to see more of his tape, it became one of those wow moments, watching his highlight tape. He really reminds me, he has some highlights that look like Tyreek Hill in there. I was at the Chiefs-Bucks game a couple weeks ago, just watching Tyreek just run at a different speed than everybody else on the field. When you watch Jimmy's tape, he's running a different speed, different change of direction than everybody else on the field. And also reminded me of had some Sammy Watkins acceleration, change of direction, and burst that I saw. And so we decided a couple weeks ago that he was oversign worthy for us, even though we were technically full with our high school class. We offered him at the same time, literally while I was on the phone offering him. I think Georgia was trying to beat through. They were offering him. And from that point on, it was like a year and a half's recruiting in 2.5 weeks. And, I got to give a lot of credit to Xavier Dye, our wide receivers coach, was able to develop a great relationship with him very quickly that I think had a big impact. There's no doubt that Timmy McClain, being a great friend of his, being his quarterback, had a tremendous impact. But it was a battle. I mean, I think there were moments, if you asked him, there was moments where he thought he was going to Georgia. I think Deion Sanders did an excellent job at Jackson State, and really there were certain times that he was thinking he was going there. And then Oklahoma came in yesterday and made the offer, and then I believe Tennessee last week, and then Ole Miss this morning called in trying to get him. So to me, he's a guy that, I mean, he has a chance to be ultra special. In my opinion, if he would have played last year, he may be at Clemson or Alabama, to be honest, if he had the video. But the fact that he missed all year and the things just kind of worked out the way they did to give us a chance. And then, like I said, we were up the last 2 nights. I've been on the phone with him to, after midnight, several nights, and then early in the morning. Coach Lodge, his head coach, was a great help for us as well. And he has the potential to, I don't know what the record is for touchdowns and all that in our school history, but that's the type of potential that this young man has as a receiver and as a return man. So I'm very excited about him.
Awesome. Thank you.
Grace Remington.
Hey, Coach. Congrats on a successful signing day.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, do you know which transfers will be eligible to play right away?
Well, we're working under the guidance that all of the transfers are going to be eligible immediately. The information that we've received from our compliance department and from contacts that we have at the NCAA is that they're expecting it to be passed, and all transfers being eligible for their first transfer, whether they graduated or not. So our expectation is for all 5 of those guys to be eligible this season.
Cool. Thank you.
And also, I will add, all 5 of those are enrolling here in January. So they'll be here in a couple weeks, which is huge to have them here for really our first true off season in the weight room in spring ball.
Kelly Quillen.
Hey, Jeff, I was just curious about the interior defensive line. You guys haven't signed anyone at that piece yet. Is that something you'll explore in the second signing period or maybe later this week?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, great question. So whenever I talked about 9 of the 12 seniors, 9 of the 13 scholarship seniors coming back, 4 of those 9 were interior defensive linemen. So we have we have 2 interior defensive linemen that are currently committed, and we've had conversations with them about delaying their enrollment here until next January, so that we can make it all work from a scholarship number perspective, and also so that we don't start their clock. So we really felt like for this coming season that we're in good position right now with our inside guys. We felt like we needed to add a little bit more athleticism on the perimeter, and I think that's what we did with both Keon and Jamari. But we do have a couple more spots we're holding in our back pocket for this spring, and really what we'd like to do is go through spring practice now that we see, and really see how our team develops, and kind of find, a couple positions where we'd like to add somebody in May, May and June. So we do have a few more spots that we'll look to bring some guys in this summer once we get through spring practice.
Nathan Bond.
Coach, I don't want to get too far ahead, but with comparing the 2014 class at USF, some of the best guys that come through this university were coming in off a 2-win season. What's the kind of special pitch that you give to these guys when you're 1-8, only some glimmer of hope after that last game? What are you telling these guys that you can be the difference? You can be the, I won't say next Clinton Flowers because that's a bit of a stretch, but you can be the next guy at USF.
Yeah, well, I think number one, it's consistency in your message. To be honest, my message did not change a whole lot from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, other than maybe a couple comments that, hey, we could have used you out there tonight or something like that. But, I think you're selling these young men on a vision of how you see this program changing here in the next couple of years. And, we've only been playing football for 24 years. So we're a very, very young football program compared to many out there that have been playing over 100 years. And so, one thing that got me really excited about taking this job, quite honestly, is the fact that University of South Florida has never won a conference championship. Like, we have a chance to do something that's never been done in school history, right? And there's not many schools in the country that you could go win a conference championship and it'd be the first time ever. And that's just one example. And so to me, it's being very genuine, being very clear in your vision, in your plans, and then really letting the guys know that, hey, our staff is just getting here, and everybody's going to get an opportunity to compete. I mean, we definitely have some holes in our current depth chart and in our roster and all that. We need more talent, and we need a lot more depth and competition. I think when you don't have depth, then you don't have great competition, because the starter knows I'm going to be the guy regardless of how I practice, because the guy behind me is not, maybe to the same standard. And so, I mean, this spring is probably going to be one of the most competitive springs that I've ever been around at a lot of different positions. And I think that is what's needed for us to really move the needle as a program on the field. But I mean, to be honest, I also say this, like, we don't beg guys to come. Like, and that's something I learned from Coach Sweeney, because sometimes at Clemson, my first couple of years, man, I'd be, I just felt this guy belongs here, and he doesn't want to hear it. And it's like, hey, you can't beg somebody. You need to present the opportunity to them very clearly. And if they buy into it and they have interest, then let's go. But if you lay it all out there and they don't have any interest, you say, hey, man, good luck to you. Wish you the best of luck, and you move on. You don't waste time. And so that's something that's important in all these conversations. Do they see opportunity here? Do they see what we're building? And the ones that do, then we go full speed ahead. And I've just, it encouraged me, to be honest, coming off a difficult season, that to be able to sign this type of class, it really encouraged me that these young men believe in what our staff is talking about and what we're ultimately going to do here.
Will Turner.
Coach, the previous two classes had less Bay Area commits combined than what you have in this class, with one still yet to sign later on. How do you guys feel you attacked the Bay Area this year? Obviously, you weren't able to see as many coaches, but I know you guys had your Bay Area Blitz back in the spring. How do you feel like you attacked the Bay Area this year?
Yeah, I thought we did a solid job, and like you said, that really hurt us that we weren't able to go out into the schools as a new staff and get to know our coaches. We had to do that over the phone, but these high school coaches in the area, they've been awesome. Their response to myself and our coaching staff has been incredible. They're calling us about some of their top guys, and we made it a huge priority. Our number one recruiting area is the Bay Area. All 10 full-time coaches have a group of 10 to 12 schools in the Bay Area, as opposed to maybe one or two coaches having this area. So that's our primary area. Then every coach has another section of Florida as their secondary area. And then every coach has one out-of-state as their third area. And so what I've told our coaches, hey, we're not just going to sign players in the Bay Area because they're from the Bay Area. Like, they have to be good enough for us to win a championship with. They also have to be a fit for our program and who we are and who we're going to be moving forward. But we need to find as many of those. I mean, I can just tell you, I was sick to my stomach watching Indiana play. I don't know if it was one of the first big games, upsets, maybe Penn State. And somebody talked about the quarterback being from Tampa. And I went and looked at it, and it just made me sick to my stomach. And because I was like, those are the type of players that we have to keep here for us to have the success that we're going to have, right? And we got to learn from the past. And hey, every recruit and every situation's different. But as long as we vet the guys out very early, we just spent the last 2.5 weeks, we've been watching 2022 film, these juniors. And before we watched anybody out of state or other parts of Florida, we spent an entire week watching every guy in this area that we think is a college potential college scholarship caliber player, because that's where we want to start and do a great job. And there are a lot of great players in this 22 class that I feel like we could potentially sign a year from now.
Mary Fiallo.
Hi, Coach. Just congratulations on the day. I know there's a lot of exciting times ahead. I was curious what your perspective was, just talking to some of the local players. Obviously, shifting the recruiting process virtual this year wasn't the most ideal because it's like you said, you couldn't see the campus, you couldn't see the facilities or anything like that in person. But in another sense, they alluded to the fact it kind of slowed things down a little bit. Like you were able to like really get to know the coaches, the players, like just this coaching staff in general. Do you think that in a way this recruiting class and just this process and the way things had to shift this year makes it a little bit more special, not to underscore previous ones, but it had to change things up just a little bit?
Yeah, it's definitely unique. Very similar to so many other things that we did this year, right? Just how we met. We were meeting over there in the rec gym this year as a team, and just so many different things this year were very unique, and this recruiting was unique, and we're trying to show a campus and a facility where we just honestly as coaches, we just got here within the last year, and we're having to do it virtually. And so there were some challenges. I mean, we just embraced it and just were very honest with the young men, with their families. And I think the being authentic and trying to work with them through this process, it was frustrating for the families. I mean, I can't imagine them trying to make these decisions, and not be able to go visit anywhere. That's very difficult. But I think when we can talk them through it, and I mean, I can't tell you how many text messages and phone calls and emails and just constant communication with them and their families, their grandmothers and different people that really, kind of help comfort them a little bit to get them comfortable to make this decision. But I mean, I think all five of the, if you just look at the transfers, I mean, I think all five of these guys are coming down here. They've never been to South Florida before. And other than one or two of the guys, I haven't met them before. So, that again, that's a great testament to kind of having to step out there in faith a little bit. And, it definitely makes it unique. It's going to make move-in day even more fun because I'm going to be meeting a lot of these guys for the very first time in person and their families. And so that's definitely very strange. But hey, we've embraced it and made the best of it. And I think this is another good example of trying to make something, a positive result out of a very difficult circumstance. And that starts with your mindset and your attitude and the way you approach it.
Kelly Quinlan.
Hey, Jeff, I was curious about the transfer portal is such a different piece of things now, and you're at a desirous location where there's a lot of talent that can come back through. Is that something that you now have to kind of factor in going forward as you do class separation and try to kind of budget your scholarships going forward? This is going to be a big part of signing day every year.
Yes, it is. And again, I'm coming from a place that signed 0 transfers in 12 years. But I figured out really quickly in this league that we're in, you better have room to bring in some top transfers because, it's a very transfer heavy league. And to me, I don't want to be a team or coaching staff that just goes exclusively that way. I think there's a balance. I really like the balance that we have in this class right now with, 17 high school signees and 5 transfers. I think that's a good mix. But also, if you look at any time a new coach comes to a program, especially a program that maybe, needs to improve, there's turnover. That's just natural, right? Because you have a coach that comes in and kind of lays out, this is who we are. This is how we're going to do things. This is what we're going to do on offense. This is what we're going to do on defense. And certain players on the team, maybe they're looking for something else. They came for something else, so they want to leave. So if you look at the number of guys, especially this was magnified this year due to the opt-outs and the guys that left there. So, the guys that are leaving, they weren't all seniors. They were sophomores, they were juniors. And so that's something that we have to look at. The thing I'm excited about with a lot of these transfers, I think just about every one of these guys have 3 years of eligibility left. And maybe one of them has 4 years left. So really you're adding them to your sophomore class, right? Or to your junior class. And so I think that is important. I think moving forward next year is a very interesting year. 2022 will really have some tight scholarship restrictions because it'll be the first year that the NCAA does not allow us to have more than 85 scholarships, even though they gave everybody on the team an extra year. And so I think you're going to see, right now our high school number for 22 is 10 players. That's right now what we're projecting, to sign 10 guys in the 22 class for high school, and maybe 4 or 5 guys, maybe older guys in transfer as of right now. Obviously that'll change as the year goes, but it's going to be a much tighter class for everyone because you want to leave room for our juniors this year that will be seniors next year that technically would have an extra year to come back. You want to save room for them to make that choice, but many of them won't be able to give you a firm decision on that until November of next year. So, and usually you already got everybody signed in your class. You got 80% of your class committed by them. So that is a numbers problem that's unique to this 22 class. We're very hopeful as coaches around the country that the NCAA is going to make some adjustments to the counter rule, where right now we're limited to 25 initial counters every year, no matter how many guys you have graduate or leave. Right now, the most counters you can have is 25 coming in. And so hopefully we're able to get that extended a little bit based on if you have guys that maybe leave on their own or whatnot, to be able to replace them. But it's definitely a complicated deal. But that's why we meet, weekly and some weeks daily on recruiting, on our numbers and our targets, because you have to plan ahead to keep a balanced roster in this day and time.
Nathan Bond.
Coach, you mentioned speaking to earlier in the press conference, speaking to all the players for 10, 15 minutes as a postseason wrap up. At the quarterback position, you have a couple of guys who, with Jordan Mcleod having one of probably his best game as a Bull in that final game. Cade Horton not really being able to get on the field much. What was the conversation you had with them, bringing in another upperclassman transfer? At what does that do for them going into spring?
Yeah, and I've been the quarterback is one position that you better be very transparent with each of those young men, and I feel like our staff's done that from the very beginning throughout the quarterback competition throughout the season, and then at the end of the year. And to be honest, I treated them just like every other player on the team. Even though quarterback's a high-profile position, I treat them exactly the same. And I gave every one of those young men some feedback on the things that they did really well, the things that they need to improve on, what we're looking for out of them in the spring for them to really go take the job. And then I also explained to them that, hey, my job as the head coach here, we haven't won many games the last 2 years. My job is to find the best quarterback to go lead us. And I've got to continue to bring other guys in until somebody separates themselves. But, my bringing in 2 quarterbacks this year is really not a reflection on my thoughts or beliefs in Jordan or Cade or Trey Marsh or Jordan Smith. It really is about keeping good numbers at that position and adding quality players. I mean, our job is to add quality players at every position. And then eventually the best of the best is going to rise. And I'm very pleased with Jordan Mcleod, how he finished the year. He played very well against Central Florida, had his best game. And it's just, for him, it's the consistency of being able to do that week in and week out. And then, Cade is a young man I think is very talented. I think, I'm just really disappointed for him that he got hurt. I mean, he had a great drive in the game that he got hurt in, and then we never really got him back. And so I think, being able to start over in January and get all spring, I think he's going to have a great spring. And then Trey Marsh is a quarterback that we've been very high on, very strong arm. I mean, he battled a bunch of injuries and stuff this year just as a freshman. And then Jordan Smith is another guy that's extremely athletic and I believe can help us somewhere on this team as well. So it's going to be a very competitive room. But again, I'm coming from a place that had competitive quarterback rooms, right? And that if you don't have a quarterback in this league or any league in Division I college football, you're not going to be a very good team. And so, one of our big goals for the offseason is for one of those young men either our current quarterbacks or one of these that's coming in here in January to really separate themselves and give us some consistency at that position.
A quick follow-up to that. How important was getting some sort of proof of concept with the UCF game, having such success offensively, to bring in, your Jimmy Horn Juniors, your Jaren Williams, to say, hey, this is what can happen when the offense clicks. You can be a part of this.
Yeah. To be honest, I think it probably had probably more impact on our current players to finally feel what it feels like to have success against a good team. To be honest, the recruits don't watch it game by game to make their decision. If you called those guys, they could tell you they remembered a couple plays here and there, but they don't really sit down and with a notepad and analyze each game by game as a big part of their decision. Now, obviously, they watched. I know that both Timmy and Jaren watched a lot of our games this year. They wanted to see schematically what we're wanting to do, and we had conversations about that. But I really think that the success that we're able to have offensively gave our offensive guys that are currently on our team, some good momentum and confidence going into this offseason.